Hello, it's Tom Donald from the London Contemporary School of Piano. Today we're going to learn about what is tritone substitution and what is it all about? What is tritone substitution all about? Is this a term you've heard before and thought, what the heck is this? Well, today we're going to talk about what it is, what it really means, and how you can apply it to your playing. And if you're a fan of our work at the school, please head on over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, because you want to get our resources kit, which accompanies these YouTube videos, including today's one on tritone substitution. We have a special 251 sheet we've just uploaded into the portal, which is on tritone substitution. So you can practice these examples today, because it will get a little tricky and you might need to spend some time at the piano practicing and sitting down with this material with the worksheet. It'll just help you. Because, look, you can watch YouTube videos all day, but essentially you need to sit down and actually work through this material yourself and let your body respond to it, your ears respond to it. Because at the end of the day, terms like tritone substitution are just terms. They mean absolutely nothing if there's no musical context behind it. So let's cover some of the theory. And there is some assumed theory you need to know before you can really dig into these types of chords. So you really need to know what a 251 is, and we've got tons of videos on that, so just go and watch that. If you don't know what your 251s are, this might not always make sense to you. And the second thing you need to know about is you need to know your seventh chords, your minor seven chords, and your dominant seven chords, and your major seven chords. If you don't, you just might find this a bit confusing, and that's fine. Just learn your seventh chords and that will help. So you know a 251 is this. I'm going to show you in simple terms how you can add a tritone sub to that. It's really simple. So here's my D minor 7, G7, C major 7. I'm playing the G7 as an inversion by dropping the top two notes. But what I'm going to do, I'm also going to drop the bottom note now. I'm going to drop that D down a semitone to a D flat, and I get this. And that is, my friends, a tritone substitution. Let's do it slowly. And you get this lovely, elegant, chromatic movement now on the bottom note, which I can add to the bass. Quite nice to practice it close voicing with hands sharing the notes. It's always fun with that slightly bossa nova rhythm. There it is. It's a little smoother perhaps than your regular 251, but it's definitely more dissonant. So what exactly is it that I'm playing then? So this chord, which originated from chord 5, and actually it really still is a chord 5, but I'll get into that later. It originated from chord 5, is now being transformed into a D flat 7, but I've got this note flattened now. So it's got a flattened fifth. It's a D flat 7 with a flattened fifth. D minor 7, D flat 7 with a flattened fifth, C major 7. And that is the tritone substitution. The interesting thing is it's still really a G7. It's a G7 with an added D flat to it. So at the same time, it's still really a G7 with a flattened fifth to it. That's because a G7 with a flattened fifth inverts exactly to a D flat with a flattened fifth. They're the same chord. So I'm going to use some classical music wisdom now rather than jazz ideas. Now the jazz terminology would be that's a tritone substitution. But it really isn't a substitution. It's just another chord 5. It's just chord 5, chord 5-7 in disguise as another chord. So there you go. So if you want to sound a little bit fancy at a jazz cocktail party, just say, well, tritone substitution really isn't a substitution. It's just an extension of chord 5. It's just a chord 5 in disguise. And a lot of music actually is. A lot of music is just really chords 1 and 5 with lots of fancy disguises, which is quite cool. All right, none of that's practical though. That's just theoretical. We can talk about what it is and what it isn't. That's the practical what it is. Now we want to do this in all 12 keys, right? So I'm going to give you, this is quite a tough exercise, but it's a really fun one to do. We're going to play our 2-5-1s in all 12 keys like this. We get the 1 and then we make the 1 minor to do it in the next key, which would be B flat major, A flat major. So we're going to do a chain of 2-5-1s, but we're going to add the tritone substitution so it becomes chromatic. And I'm just going to do it actually sharing the notes of both chords. So I'm not going to just play bass in the left hand. I'm going to share the notes of the chords in both hands. We're going to do this really slowly together. So it's like that. And so the lead sheet for this, or the crib sheet for this, is in our resources kit on our website. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. This is not easy, right? I even have to think about this because there's so many different angles and shapes that this produces on the piano. So you can do it in that close voicing style, like this. Let me complete the cycle. Whoa, see, I made a mistake already. There we are. And now we're back to where we started, on that D minor 7, finishing on the C major 7. So I had a nice chromatic fall there. And you can see that if I play it with a bass line now, now, that's quite difficult because it's dense, right? There's a lot going on there. So here's another way you can practice tritone substitutions in a more straightforward way with a little less clutter. And I think this is quite useful. So we're going to grab this from The Girl from Ipanema, a classic piece of music with a beautiful example of tritone substitution. And we're just going to go between the chord 1 and the tritone substitution, which, what do we call that chord? We could call it a chord 5 in disguise, or we can call it a chord flattened 2 with a flattened 5th in it. Whatever rocks your boat, right? So we're just going to play these nice, beautiful chords together and get them into our muscle memory, because that's what really counts. Getting these chords into your muscle memory. You can talk about theory all day, but theory is pointless if it doesn't get into your muscle memory, because piano is still a doing activity. We're still playing, we're doing. We're not thinking about, we're doing. And jazz is all about doing. So is tritone substitution. We're doing it, we're adding it to the playing. So this exercise will really help you switch off a little bit, just get it into the fingers, turn off the over-analytical part of our brain, which can sometimes hijack the process. So we're going to go between this, the F major 7, and the tritone sub, which is the G flat 7 with the flattened 5. There's a nice fun way to chill into it a bit. And in this context, it does sound really chilled. Let's do it in another key. What about B flat major? We'll produce some different shapes. So here's our B flat. Maybe we'll find a step-by-step way of finding it. You could go B flat, B, just do it in semitones, and then go, okay, major 7, B flat 7, that's a good sort of stepping stone. Major 7 to the dominant 7 on the B, because the same note is maintained at the top. All right, now we're going to get that dominant 7, and now we're going to drop that down a semitone. See, that's a good way of doing it, because that's a step-by-step way of doing it. Why don't we try another key? What about D major? So let's use that 3-step process. I think it was a 3-step process. We started with major, D major, E flat major, D major. It sounds a bit flamenco, doesn't it? So we do those two, okay. Now we'll make a D major 7 and an E flat dominant 7, E flat 7 for short. Same note at the top. See, the same note at the top, that's what glues the chords together. Now we're going to drop the 5th note of the E flat 7 to get our tritone sub. Now we got this. So having those little processes in your practice really help. So because the tritone sub is really a chord 5 in disguise, you can use it really pretty much wherever you would have a chord 5-7. So when you see those chord 5-7s, when you see those 2-5-1s in jazz pieces, just get that chord 5 and add that tritone substitution treatment to it, and you can do all sorts of really cool things to your playing. And if you really want to take your jazz playing further, you should consider one-to-one lessons at our school. It doesn't matter where in the world you live. We have an incredible faculty of teachers, and our jazz specialists on our team well, they're not just jazz specialists, they're education specialists. Because I've found with jazz education, there is a huge gap in the market for jazz education that is the right balance between great teaching and pedagogy, great learning and great ability to communicate step-by-step ideas that bridge you into that musical freedom and creativity, which is what we crave in jazz, but having the right balance of structure and creativity. And having that combined with great musicianship, you can learn from the greatest musician in the world. You could learn from a great, great master, but they might not really be a great teacher. And vice versa, you might come across someone who's a great, great teacher who understands pedagogy, but they don't really play to that level. And our team are really unique. I would say they're unicorns in the sense that the jazz specialists on our faculty at the school have that very, very rare combination of a jazz specialist and an education specialist, meaning that they love education. They don't just love jazz, but they actually love teaching people, and they love solving challenges and modifying the musical material. I'll say this again, because if you're looking for a great teacher, it doesn't have to be at our school, it can be anywhere. This is what you're looking for, because I recruit teachers from all over the world. I'm always looking for the best teachers. So I'll tell you, we've done years of research and development on this. A great teacher has the ability to modify the material to fit the student's needs so they can progress. This is really important, not just fitting the student's needs, so they progress forward and continue to improve. And that is a science and an art, but it is a science. And when we recruit teachers at the London Contemporary School of Piano, we literally go through thousands and thousands of applications of really, really good teachers, a lot of them, to find that really, really special teacher. So if you head on over to our website, you can actually book a session. We don't always have much availability, but I mean, what an opportunity that could be for your playing. And the fees that are charged to get access to that type of education, I think we undercharge, actually. And we often, because of that, we often have a waiting list. But if you actually really want to transform your piano playing, it doesn't just have to be jazz. That's something you really should consider doing, is getting some time with our coaches. Obviously, we have to check to see if you're the right fit for us. If your internet connection is up to scratch, you don't need to have the fastest internet connection if you don't live in London. If you do live in London, well, what excuse do you have? It's just a train ride to our studios on Baker Street. In fact, even if you don't live in London, you can visit us for intensive courses. We have intensive courses and programs. But to explore what you need to do, if that's something you would be interested in, is you really should just go to our website and book in a phone call. And you can do that by just entering your email address or going to our Contact Us page. You can book in, just request a time for a phone call. And Kate, who is in our enrollments, head coach and our enrollments officer, she will speak to you and find out what's best for you, fit you with the right coach in our team. We're a very small team because it's very hard to find teachers of that exact criteria. In fact, we have an incredible team of recruitment specialists who look for that criteria, and I'm part of that team. And it takes a long time, and we're in no rush to find the best teachers in the world. We're in no rush at all. If it takes us a year to find a great teacher to join our team, it takes us a year. It takes as long as it takes. So it's not something that we're trying to scale. We're not trying to grow a sausage factory of teachers. We're just looking for ways to make the best piano education in the world. And from what we learn in our lessons, we can put that on our YouTube channel so people around the world can watch it and enjoy it as well. So there's a bit of background information about what it is we do, because there's much more to our school than just what it is you're seeing on this YouTube channel. I hope you've enjoyed these tritone substitution exercises. If there's any topics you'd like me to talk about more of, put it in the comments, or any things you'd like me to talk less about, you can put it in the comments as well. And I'll see you on the next video.